This is the After Party, live with Kim McAllister. Pick a couch, grab a drink, and settle into the conversation.
It is Aloha Friday on the After Party Live. Thank you so much for being here. Turn that music down just a little bit. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm so excited to tell you that in my zeal to reach 2,000 subscribers here on the After Party Live, we are now at 1,942. Inching ever so slowly the way to 2,000. So thank you again for sharing the shorts and helping me promote the show. Really appreciate it. Something else very appreciated is everyone who supports the show. And today, just before airtime, got another contribution from Wes. Huge thank you, Wes, for your constant support of this show. You always step up and do that, and I just so appreciate it. It is needed and appreciated, and it's keeping this show going forward. So we will have Tim Sika on in just a few moments and maybe try to squeeze in a few stories. That was a really long Mark Thompson show today, so we'll try to get as much as we can in here. But again, thank you for the contribution. If you are so inclined to help crowdfund this show, find the PayPal link or information, I should say, because it's not a live link. It's just the PayPal information that you'd have to copy and paste. So that's in the show description. Thank you again for that. One of the stories I wanted to bring up today is I called it Earth Part 2 because it appears that scientists have found a planet they think might be able to sustain human life. This planet isn't so far away, considering I think they said 40,000 light years away. They call it Gliese 12b. It's 40,000 light years away, which right now would take us 300,000 years with our current technology and spaceships to get there. So I don't think we're going there anytime soon. But it's about the same size as Venus, and they think that it has water, liquid water. It's cold, chilly cold, 42 degrees Celsius. So it could be livable, even though maybe not so comfortable for us. Yeah, the researchers, Larissa Palathorpe from the University of Edinburgh, says it would be uncomfortable for a human, but the way we define habitability is that liquid water could exist on the surface of the planet, which in this case, it could. The question is, what else is living on that planet? I don't know. So Palathorpe and scientists from around the world use NASA's Transiting Exoplanet Survey satellite, it's called TESS, to spot this planet orbiting around its star. It took them less than a year to calculate its size, its temperature, and how it moves. The smaller planets, she says, are really hard to find. So we want to know more about Earth-sized planets so we can understand how many Earths are out there. Detecting one nearby, she said, is really exciting because it allows them to do more follow-up analysis of the atmosphere, so they'll be able to learn a lot more about it. This planet, Gliese b, again, 40,000 light years away. But this is where they say that it'll take our fastest spaceship about 300,000 years to get there currently. But who knows? I mean, our technology might improve. Who knows? The way this planet works is it orbits, so again, around the same size as Venus, and it orbits its sun every 12.8 days. The sun is called Gliese 12, and it's a cool red dwarf located in the constellation Pisces. The light they're seeing now is from 40 years ago. That's how long it takes to reach us here on Earth. So planets like Gliese 12b, we have to rename it because that's not sexy enough. They say they're few and far between. So to be able to examine one that closely and learn about its atmosphere, pretty rare. This may be where we send the next human colony. Ideally for habitability, the scientists say you want a thin atmosphere. Thick atmosphere planets tend to be too hot. So it could be cloud-like, could be hazy, or no atmosphere at all. And if that's the case, it means it's not that habitable. So the next step, they need to examine the planet's atmosphere and find out whether the atmosphere is similar to Earth's atmosphere. But potentially, this planet could support human life, which is kind of an exciting discovery. But again, they need to find out a lot more about this planet. It is time for our movie reviews here on the After Party Live. And it is At the Movies with Tim Sika. Here he is, everybody. It's Tim Sika.
Hey,
Hi.
Kim. How are you? Hi.
Good,
Boy, do
how
you
are
learn
you?
I'm doing good. Boy, do you learn a lot of things watching your show. I'll tell you.
It's true.
Yeah.
We do a lot of studies and science-y kind of things and some fun things as well. It's kind of a weird mix, but I like it.
Yeah, but it's a public service, too. I
There
mean,
you go.
goodness,
There you
yeah.
go.
That's entertaining, too.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Well, thank you, Tim, for being here. We've got a lot of movies to talk about today.
A few.
I miss your picture, but that's all right. I'll do without it today. The first movie on your list was Furiosa Mad Max. They're back at it, are they?
Yeah, they are back at it. Yes, this one, yes, they are. Yeah. This one, a Mad Max saga, Furiosa. This is the big, and I do mean big, both literally and figuratively, Hollywood release of the week. And it stars Anya Taylor-Joy and Chris Hemsworth, virtually unrecognizable in his appliance makeup. In this one, he's donning like a Laurence Olivier nose right out of one of Olivier's Shakespeare roles. Anyway, that's what it reminded me of, because if you didn't know this was Chris Hemsworth ahead of time, you would not have recognized him. Anyway, and both actors really crushed their parts in this movie, I should mention. Anyway, this is another in the post-apocalyptic action adventure movies that make up the Mad Max movie franchise. And this is a prequel. The Furiosa role was originally played in Fury Road by Charlize Theron. And in this prequel, a younger version of that character is played by Anya Taylor-Joy. So just wanted to say that. And this is an example. You know, Kim, this is an example of a very good movie. It's imaginative, reasonably entertaining. It's epic, it's grand, it's grandiose, and more, which I'll get to here. But a movie I didn't particularly like, and I'm going to try to explain that, which probably tells you more about me than it does about the movie. So take all that I'm about to say about this movie with an appropriate grain of salt, okay? Anyway, the plot is a lot. It's Mad Max. It's post-apocalyptic. The setting is years after this global catastrophe. Wasteland outposts populate the world and what remains. And while there's some kind of goodness attempting to like hold life together in the form of what is called the green place of many mothers, aka the place of abundance, killing and greed and control over resources are the dominant motivators of this warlord named Dementus. He's played by Chris Hemsworth. And so I'll tell you what are the good things, the impressive things about Furiosa. This movie, like its predecessor, Fury Road, which won, I don't know if people remember this, but Mad Max Fury Road won 7 Academy Awards in 2016. That's a haul of Oscars.
Yeah, it is.
And you know, there's really no way of getting around it. This one, like that one, is this miraculous triumph of sound design, sound effects editing, production design, epic scope, imaginative and brilliantly directed, photographed, and staged action set pieces. Kind of at times reminded me of a Fellini movie. In short, it's like this virtual cinematic masterpiece of craft. Unassailable, in other words, in terms of pure and very visual movie making cinema, right? I just never got what my takeaway was supposed to be in any of these Mad Max movies, but especially in this one, because the world that it depicts is it's more ugliness and unpleasantness and depressing. In other words, there's very little here, almost nothing, except what I just said about the movie's crap that I want to bring with me into.
If this is the future, we're really in trouble.
Well, yeah, for sure. Yeah. But you know, I felt like when it was over, even though I was like really taken by just the way they made it. I just felt like I needed a shower. And so anyway,
Oh,
this could go on forever. Did I like it? No. I
no.
felt, like I said, I needed a shower afterwards. But is it art? I think it is. It's this like veritable fantasia of unpleasant imagery and violence and darkness and
Mm.
ugliness. But, so are the paintings of, I don't know, Francis Bacon. And if you look at this movie as a painting, it's an impressive canvas, so to speak. It's yes, it's a sensory assault of ugliness, but also an artistic vision that cannot be denied or ignored. So I have to recommend it. I'm listening to myself go on like this. I may have just convinced myself to watch it again. What it is, these are essentially grungy action movies, but they're just elevated by the craft. The way they're put together. The director is George Miller, and he's 79.
Whoa.
And it's unbelievable. I mean, he at that age, he boasts the energy and vitality of a director 50 years his junior.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's so much to be recommended, but I just, when it was over, I just thought, God, I need to take a shower, but first maybe a shot of whiskey would. So I don't know. I'm recommending it, even though I sound like I'm talking like out of both sides of my mouth. But I'm recommending it. Yeah.
All right, there you go. Next up, The Beach Boys.
Yes, now streaming on Disney Plus is this next movie, The Beach Boys, and guess what it's about?
The weirdness and sexual deviation of the Beach Boys?
No, it's just about the American rock band.
Oh, okay.
Whose forte, certainly in terms of musicality, was, well, for one, their harmonics, but in particular, the enormous impact the artistry of their main guy, Brian Wilson, had upon the world of pop music. And that's kind of the focus of this Beach Boys documentary. And it's a pretty nuts and bolts history of the band, the individual members' backgrounds, even though they're kind of just semi-portraits. They don't go into a whole lot of detail here. I know fans of the Beach Boys will go, well, why did they leave this out? And why did they de-emphasize this? But it's not a whole lot we haven't seen before. Although, did you know that Glenn Campbell was a member of the touring Beach Boy band for a while?
No, I didn't know that until today, yeah.
That was one thing I did learn, yeah. So anyway, a lot of it's familiar with the occasional thing, with only kind of passing references to the darker personal sides of the members of the band. But what I liked about the Beach Boys was that this documentary's focus tended more towards the band's artistic growth. They were explaining how and why the Beach Boys became so super popular as the poster boys for the California dream, of surfing and sun and girls. How they, unlike the Beatles' artistic approach, for example, went from like super pop to super artists. The Beatles was kind of gradual. They kind of evolved, but the Beach Boys, with the release of one of the greatest albums ever made, Pet Sounds, kind of like went from super pop to super artistic, and then their fans kind of didn't even know what to do with that, even though Pet Sounds has subsequently become a smash commercial hit and is considered one of the greatest albums ever made. Anyway, right. I like that about this. And so, yeah, this is one of those what's not to like documentaries, especially if you love the Beach Boys, if you're a fan of the Beach Boys, if you're interested in pop music history. God, and all those great Beach Boy songs are here to worm their way into your ear. Yeah. So, yeah, I loved it. It's streaming on Disney Plus, so people can avail themselves of it when we're finished talking today. Yeah.
This one, I wasn't sure which was the right poster. Is it this or is it this?
It may be both, but I think it's the first one. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
we'll go with that.
Yeah, that's the one.
Chris Pratt and Samuel L. Jackson?
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. The
right.
Garfield movie. Yeah, this is an easy one to rag on. For one, it's not the best kids movie out there, but it is a kids movie that's out there in theaters. So, if you have a family and you have kids and you want to take them out to see a harmless movie, you've got this one. Well, there is basically just this one now and John Krasinski's If, which we talked about last week, which has its own set of problems. But since we pretty much trashed If, maybe we should tread a little more lightly on the Garfield movie, which at least didn't overreach like If did. It's simply what it is. And what it is a CGI animated cartoon about the comic strip cat Garfield, who loves lasagna. He hates Mondays. And he loves
Garfield.
cheese too. Yeah,
Yeah.
cheese is his love language, as he says in the movie. and this is not a bad movie, but it's not the best movie either. It's kind of noisy and plot cluttered, kind of riddled with all sorts of comic bits and gags, which are in themselves okay. But the movie seems more about its cluttered plot and its comic bits and gags than about the actual character of Garfield, as at least the way Garfield's portrayed in the comic strip, I guess. That's my main knock against it. There's just all sorts of stuff going on in this movie. There's a cow romance that's fueling the plot for one. A cow romance, right? Which sounds kind of funny, I guess. But there's less on what makes the comic strip so amusing, which was Garfield's life with his owner, John, and his beagle sidekick, Odie, right? Mm-hmm. In other words, they could have replaced Garfield. They could have put another character in there in place of Garfield, and we just have the very same movie that's being advertised as the Garfield movie, So, and because most animated kids movies seem to feel they need to adhere to the structure of an action movie, this one inappropriately, I feel, falls into that trap too, and essentially winds up being less of a Garfield movie and more of a Mission Impossible action cartoon. And they literally invoke the Mission Impossible franchise with the famous theme, the Lalo Schifrin theme, and later they actually even mention Tom Cruise. So yeah, I don't know how kids will respond to this. They may be moderately amused because there's nothing offensive here. It's kind of sweet. Its heart is in the right place. Yeah. I was the only one in the theater, so who knows how a theater full of kids are going to react. But now that I'm thinking about it, and I hate being cavalier and dismissing a movie, because a lot of work obviously went into this one.
Sure.
I think at its worst sin is that it's kind of boring. So that's kind of the Garfield movie for you. The trailer is actually better than the actual film.
And I hate when that happens.
I know. The film needed to be, in my opinion, more of what we saw in that trailer than what emerged in the final film. So, yeah.
Not recommended?
It's up to you.
Okay, it's up to you. If you're not going there.
No, if you think your kids will love it, I just, take them. I mean, no. Sorry, Garfield.
Right. We're going to go, I think, international with this one. You called it Farewell, Mr. Hoffman.
Yeah,
the poster I found is Adieu, Monsieur Hoffman.
Yes, because it is a drama in French that apparently has been sitting in the can for a couple of years. And I don't know, maybe COVID has something to do with its delayed release.
Sure.
Yeah, it's a French film. In English subtitles, a drama, a World War II drama that takes place in occupied France, the city of Paris, adapted from a play. So that was something that immediately caught my eye. And I thought, okay, that's usually a good sign that we're going to see something literate, if it's based on a play. And this one has a really interesting plot. It's about a Jewish jeweler in Paris, circa 1942, who senses the imminent threat to himself, his wife, and 3 children with the Nazis having, bulldozed their way into Paris, and who are now slowly starting to round up Jews to send them to concentration camps. So what happens is he sends his family to safe haven right away. He gets them, on a train and into safe haven, and then he, the next day, is going to join them. But all kinds of strange things happen. But anyway, in that 24 hours that he's preparing to leave, he first wants to get his affairs in order. So he wants to hand over the deed to his jewelry business and trusts this man, this assistant of his, to return the business to him at the end of the war. Whereupon he promises his assistant, he says, if you do this for me, I'll set you up with a business of your own when I return after the war. So the movie really turns out to be about this jeweler's assistant and what this guy does as events in the story unfold, as the Nazi pressure to round up Jews heats up and unpredictable events in the story transpire. There's a lot of twists in the story, many of which are surprising that you really don't see coming. There's even a couple of weird ones where you're just going, holy moly. Anyway, so this is a really good drama. It's quiet, it's restrained, it's suspenseful, it's tense, it's very well acted and directed. It's another one of those movies about, what seemingly good people might or will do under circumstances which tests their morals and ethics and beliefs, their character,
Yep.
and who they really are underneath this, patina of goodness that seems to be the dominant thing in their personality. My only caveat is that the ending is a bit too tidy. It's a bit too neat. It's emotionally satisfying, but arguably too resolved. It involves fake IDs, and I'm not giving anything away because it just involves fake IDs. And it would have been perfectly acceptable for like a 1960s Rod Serling Twilight Zone episode.
Sure.
But it's a bit too cut and dried for a 21st century drama about the Holocaust. But that's a minor reservation. The film is still definitely worth seeing for its overall achievement in performance, scripting, direction, and the psychological portraits it presents of ordinary, everyday people during a time of war and enemy occupation. So it's really good. Really good.
It's French subtitles, right?
Yes, French subtitles. Yeah, but you forget that, or at least I maybe because I see a lot of foreign films, I kind of don't say to myself, "Oh, this is a foreign film."
Sure, you gotta get into it. Yeah,
but it's a really good drama, and you forget within 10 minutes that you're watching a foreign language film. And again, I only say that because sometimes people go, "Oh, it's in subtitles."
Yeah,
I don't know, but yeah, it's you're not going to notice the drama is that good. Yeah.
Film is dead. Long live film.
Yes, this one is probably my favorite film of the week.
Okay.
If for no other reason than because it just hits my sweet spot as a film geek, as a film lover. And I'll explain, but it's a documentary called, you said it, Film is Dead, Long Live Film. And it's going to be getting a special and exclusive screening at this year's San Francisco Doc Fest, which is why I want to call it to people's attention. And I want to mention at the end about that after I talk about it. But first, the film. It's written and directed by Peter Flynn, and it is essentially a love letter to film collectors. And by film collectors, I mean, well, diehard film enthusiasts, for one, who collect what movies used to be recorded, presented, and preserved on, which was film, actual film, strips of celluloid, first on nitrate film, which was highly flammable, and then that was replaced by acetate-based safety film, which would then be, of course, projected through a movie projector and onto a movie screen. And on this film, which preceded, of course, the advent of videotape and digital, is essentially what comprises the entire history of the movies and television, most of which has been lost to the ravages of time. Although there's still stuff out there that needs to be preserved. So this is not only about the people who collect these films, who've collected them over the years in a hobby that was once considered illegal because these films that they collected and personally amassed were owned by the studios. It's a history of film itself. It's also about film preservation and our film heritage and how these collectors have contributed to the preservation of film heritage out of this passion that they had over film collecting. It's just a fascinating, entertaining film that functions on a lot of levels regarding film history, and a movie that I think deserves to be seen by as wide an audience as possible, if for no other reason than to raise awareness about the importance of film preservation. Kim, do you know that something like 80% of silent films have been lost to history? I think one of the other figures that's out there is something like 50% of the movies made before 1950 have been lost because, the studios they considered this disposable entertainment, and they didn't see the long-term effect and really money-making possibilities that it had if they just would have saved their archives and not, throwing the film into a dump somewhere. But
Sure.
anyway, you can see this movie at this year's SF Doc Fest on Friday, May 31st at 6 p.m. at the Roxy Theater in San Francisco. And so I urge every film fan, film lover, film enthusiast to check it out. It's called Film is Dead, Long Live Film, which is the greatest title too, because that title is like this perfect summation of what this film is about. It's like a Hall of Mirrors title, because in one sense, film is dead, right?
Right.
It's been replaced by digital for the most part, and yet
Mm-hmm.
the recorded history of film and television is still to be found on film, but waiting to be discovered. So check it out, film lovers. It's catnip for you all. It's catnip for me. I just love this movie. Yeah.
And here is the information about the Documentary Film Festival.
Oh, thanks for putting that up there. Yeah, you can
Yeah.
get tickets at sfindiefest.com, or just, you can Google San Francisco Documentary Film Festival, and they make it real easy for you to get tickets. And yeah, there it is, right up there
Yeah.
on the after party screen.
It said sfindy.com is the website.
Yes,
sfindy.com. Mm-hmm.
SF Indie Fest. They host a series of
Okay.
festivals. They do like an independent film festival. They do
Sure.
a documentary film festival, and they sponsor other festivals throughout the year. But then this is their Doc Fest. So yeah. So Kim,
And
have you seen anything anyway
It's
this
at the
week?
Roxy.
Yeah, it's at the Roxy, right?
I forget the name of it. I should have noted it. I saw the movie. It's a rom-com that you didn't love. It was with
boy.
Anne Hathaway.
Oh yeah, the one about the boy band thing.
The boy band one. I did watch that movie.
Oh yes, The Idea of You.
The Idea of You. That's it.
Did you like it?
I didn't hate it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Like it was kind of formulaic. It was, but it was
Yeah.
like you said, you warned
Wait,
me there it was some sexy times in there, and there definitely was sexy times.
Well,
But
was
it was interesting. I mean,
Yeah.
it was a good fold the laundry movie. That's what I
Yeah.
thought.
Yeah. There you
Yeah.
go. And I think the actors were particularly good, and gave
Mhm.
gave a little added grist to the story, which was really like just a wish fulfillment thing. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
and really, I mean, where was that romance going to go? Really, come on.
Exactly.
So anyway, but
So
yeah, okay, yeah, yeah.
Recapping it, you said Furiosa, a Mad Max saga is a grunge action movie. You didn't
Yeah.
really like it. You said the plot is a lot dark, but artistically impressive. You have to recommend it, even though it wasn't your fave.
Yeah, it wasn't my cup of tea. Yeah.
Beach Boys, the Beach Boys on Disney Plus. It's a documentary. You loved it. You said it highlights the music, and how can you go wrong with that?
Right. What's not to like? Right.
The Garfield movie, this animated kids movie about the cat who loves lasagna. You said it's not bad, but it's not the best either.
Yeah.
You said it's noisy with a lot of comic gags, and the plot's all cluttered, and you kind of thought it was boring. You're not recommending that one.
Yeah. No.
No. Farewell, Mr. Hoffman, or Adieu, Monsieur Hoffman. You said this is a really good drama. It's suspenseful, shows what people are really capable of. And it is French subtitles. You really like this one.
Yeah, I did.
But your
Yeah.
favorite of the week is Film is Dead, Long Live Film, this documentary about film collectors and the preservation of films, and that you can see it's not widespread, right? You can only see it during the documentary festival.
For now, yes. Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, there we go. Tim Sika, as always, you bring the goods, man.
Oh, well, thank you, Kim. It's
Yeah.
always great talking to you. I feel sometimes like I'm dominating this conversation. It should be more of a conversation. between
No,
the two
no.
of us, but hey,
You have a lot to say, so this is
Well,
fantastic.
I love that you give me the forum to just go on and on and on. So thank you so much. I always look forward to today, to Fridays, and being
Yay.
on the after party. So thanks for having me.
Tim Sika, everybody. Thank you so much.
Okay, bye, Kim.
All right. Bye. All right, so there we go. That is Tim Sika's movie reviews for this week. I think I can squeeze in another story before we have to go. I would just keep going on and on, but I have a meeting at the school today, and so I have to go and keep it. But I wanted to show you this story about the situation in the Los Angeles area. See, there's a shirt, It says LAPD, kind of like an LA Lakers kind of shirt. Well, the unfortunate part of this is that the shirt, um, they meant it as a good thing, right? I guess the foundation, the Los Angeles Police Department Foundation, uh, they tried to claim the copyright to the letters, that the nonprofit that supports the LAPD tried to claim the copyright to the letters LAPD, which are featured on a shirt modeled after the Lakers logo, which you see here. But the words apparently say F the LAPD spelled out. It's more of this LAPDF, the foundation supporting the LAPD, is kind of a fundraising arm, according to the LA Times. But they worked with the Cola Corporation to make these shirts. And they say provocation is a public service. And they are not going to give up making this shirt, even though the foundation doesn't want them to make it. They said their response was, LOL, no. So the t-shirt maker's attorney is refuting the claims that the foundation made, suggesting that they're thin-skinned bullies and they don't want to do the things that result in the people wanting to buy and wear the F the LAPD merchandise. So it's become this big thing. But these F the LAPD shirts are sold out. And when you try to censor something, people want it more. And so that's what's happening with this big flap between the LAPD Foundation and the t-shirt maker, and it's getting really ugly there. I think I could can I squeeze in another one? I can. You remember we talked about that weasel? The little weasel who escaped a zoo/sanctuary in the London area, or in the UK, I should say. He was on the run for 5 days, and he has finally been captured. This is a Central American Tara weasel that escaped from the Hemsley Conservation Center in the UK. And they'd put the public on notice on social media that this weasel, Rizzo, escaped from her enclosure because of damage to the mesh. And they tracked sightings all over the place, and they finally determined her most frequented spots, and they waited in those areas, and they caught Rizzo last night, returned her to the center. She spent last night catching up on her rest, no obvious issues. She's going to be kept in quarantine for a couple of days to make sure that she's not experiencing any issues from her time on the run. And then she'll be reunited with her mate. So Rizzo has returned. There is a story, a really interesting story about crows. And we knew crows were smart. We knew it. Well, now there's more information about the minds of these creatures. And it appears they can count. Kind of on par with how a toddler counts up to 4. Crows can count at least up to 4. That's what they're saying. Yeah. The researchers with the University of Tübingen Animal Physiology Lab in Germany, they say the way birds recognize and react to numbers is very similar to a process that humans use, the way we learn to count as toddlers, and that they quickly recognize how many objects that they are looking at. They published these findings in the journal Science. Humans, they say, don't have a monopoly on skills like numerical thinking, abstraction, tool manufacturing, or planning ahead. No one, they say, should be surprised that crows are smart. So there you go. And it's not limited to crows. We've seen chimpanzees taught to count in numerical order as well. In attempting to mate or to convince someone to mate with them, some male frogs count the number of calls from competing males to match or even one-up that number when it comes their turn to croak. So this research, inspired by the way human toddlers learn to count. The toddlers use the words of numbers to tally the number of objects in front of them. If they see 3 toys in front of them, they're counting sounds like 1, 2, 3, or 1, 1, 1, right? As they're learning. And so researchers thought, well, maybe crows could do the same thing. And so they checked. And it turns out that these crows were trained to plan their number of caws. It took about 160 sessions, and during the trainings, the birds had to learn associations between a series of visual and auditory cues from 1 to 4, and then produce the corresponding number of caws. In one example, they say a visual cue might look like a bright blue numeral, and its corresponding audio could be a half-second song of a drum roll. So the crows were expected to perform the same number of caws as the number represented by the cue. 3 caws for the numeral 3, that type of thing. And they had to do it within 10 seconds of hearing or seeing the cue. When the birds stopped counting and cawing, they would peck at an enter key on the touchscreen that presented their cues to confirm that they were done. And if they counted correctly, they got a treat. And as the cues continued, the crows took longer to react. Their reaction times grew as more vocalizations were impending. And that seemed to suggest that the crows were planning the number of caws they were going to make before they opened their beaks. So, very interesting. We knew they were smart, but just more evidence about what they're actually capable of. I don't know if you saw this one. This is from SF Gate. It seems they're changing up the logo at UC Berkeley. Used to say Cal with the yellow script, but, and I don't know who doesn't know that Cal and Cal Berkeley are the same school. And maybe that's because I'm from the Bay Area and many of my family members went to Berkeley, UC Berkeley, aka Cal. You can call it Berkeley, you can call it UC Berkeley, you can call it UCB, you can call it Cal, you can call it whatever. But they've this week changed their logo for the first time in more than 10 years. Now they have this yellow letter B surrounded by a blue background as part of the university's rebranding. They say they're doing this because of confusion that Cal and UC Berkeley are different schools. And so that made them consider doing a whole new type of branding for the school. The updated B is only going to be used in small spaces where it's hard to see the Berkeley logo, which is simply the word you see here, Berkeley. That's it. That's the new brand. That's the way we're going to see it. And here's the other one. For if you're looking on social media, the official account for UC Berkeley will simply have the letter B, and that will be it. See if I can find it for you. That's it. I don't know. I mean, it seems like a waste of time, but I guess there are people paid to figure out these things. So that's just the letter B. It will no longer say Cal. And they say Cal is really used for sports at UC Berkeley, so you may still see the Cal logo for sports. But for everything else, university related, it'll either be this B or that Berkeley that we saw before. They say the B monogram is taken directly from the logo, which used a kind of typeface inspired by the University of California old style. It's kind of an historic typeface. So, yeah, they have a Berkeley Cal Identity Task Force to try to mitigate the confusion around the school's nicknames. So, they say oftentimes Berkeley or UC Berkeley is associated with the academics and the research. Cal or California is used in the context of athletics to describe the identities of alumni, students, faculty, type of thing. It's going to take a lot more than just rebranding to get people, to get former alumni and to get people in the Bay Area to not call it Cal. So, but they say even in the Bay Area, they did a survey and they found a quarter of Bay Area residents didn't know Berkeley and Cal were the same school. Really? Across the nation, 2/3 of people thought the names referred to different schools. And so the problem they thought was having two different identities is not good from a branding perspective. So we'll see how it works out. I don't think they're going to be able to weed out Cal. So again, there's the social media B, and here is what the other thing that you will see. Oh, where's the other one? I have Berkeley. Now I lost it. There it is, Berkeley. Yeah, that's what it's going to look like. This guy, and I probably need to wrap it up in a little bit here, but this guy lost his wallet at the age of 13 or 14. He was 14. He was fishing with some friends at a marina on British Columbia's Vancouver Island. No, let me take that back. There was a 14-year-old boy who was fishing with friends off of Vancouver Island. And while he was fishing, he ended up pulling this wallet up. And it was lost 33 years earlier in 1991. This man set his wallet down to prevent it from falling into the water. His name is Nick. He said, one summer day, I grabbed my fishing rod. I went out to the marina. The tide was low. I hopped over the edge of the dock onto the breakwater, and as I started walking, my wallet in my front pocket was sticking out of my shorts. So I looked at a spot, and I remember holding my wallet and gently putting it down, thinking, this is the spot. I got to remember this. And he said, Nick, he was dismayed when he returned hours later to find no sign of his wallet or the contents in there that were hard to replace, including, look at that, the 24-hour video card. He said, I had everything in there. There was my birth certificate, my status card, social insurance card, everything he said that was me was in that wallet. But eventually he had to give up the search. He went home. He bought a replacement a few weeks later. And then 33 years, fast forward to now, he gets this Facebook message from a man who said his 14-year-old son, Jamie, found the long-lost wallet while fishing at the same marina. Jamie said he and his friends were digging through the rocks because one of them dropped the controller for an electric skateboard. I told my friends, guys, I just found someone's wallet. I picked it up, I opened it, and it was super crusty. There were holes in it. It was hard to open. The wallet's contents turned out to be pretty well preserved, though. And so he enlisted the help of his dad after discovering all of the documents inside, the identifying documents. He said, I called my dad because this guy must have lost his wallet forever ago, and I wanted to get it back to him. Nick thought it was a scam until they sent him a picture of his old ID card. Anyway, they got it back into his hands, and Nick said it was like a blast from the past. He said, I was thinking of going again and bringing my kids. Back then I wasn't driving. I rode my bike, and everything was in my pockets. Now I'm going to drive and leave everything that's valuable, like wallets, in the car. But he gets this wallet back 33 years later, so that's pretty cool. Can we do the lotto of the day? It's a great way to end the show. This is the lotto of the day. That's right. Here is a lady that had her sister pick out her winning numbers. Now, this is a North Carolina 18-year-old, and she wins $1 million, or he won $1 million by having his sister choose his scratch-off lottery ticket. His name is Jalen. He lives in Raleigh. And he said, he gave some money to his sister, and he told her to buy him a scratch-off lottery ticket. The sister selected a $10 Jumbo Bucks ticket from a Valero gas station, and she brought the ticket back to her brother, and then she watched as he scratched it off. He had a huge smile on his face, she said, like so big it looked like the movie character in Venom. McLean won the $1 million top prize. He said, I feel like the luckiest guy in the universe. How many 18-year-olds win something like this? He plans to use some of his winnings to buy an Audi. And I would say you need to give some to your sister because she picked the ticket. So come on. Congratulations, the lottery of the day. Well, my apologies for this being a short show. That Mark Thompson show went way over time, but that means I just have so much more to show you and tell you about and talk with you about when we meet again on Monday. I'll give you some clues and some hints. We'll talk about a record-setting number of Madonna tattoos. Who does these things? We'll talk about stick bugs and whether their camouflage, the way they camouflage on leaves, came about by evolution or something else. So that'll be interesting. And it turns out they used to think that different languages originated in different parts of the brain. Now, research shows that might not be the case. So we'll talk about that as well and more. Thanks to Lori for always the great show ideas. Thank you to everyone, including Wes, Janet R., Meredith, and others for supporting the show. You'll see all the names fly by in just a moment. Those are just the most recent contributions, and I wanted to make sure they were mentioned in case they're not included in the video. But thank you so much for supporting this show and helping me keep it going, because I really like it a lot. Have a great weekend. Make it a great Friday and make it a great weekend. And I'll meet you right back here, or right back on the Nikki Maduro show, actually, on Monday morning. I'm not sure whether Nikki's show is going to be live or taped on Monday. I know Mark Thompson's show will likely be a best of for Memorial Day. And so that probably won't be a live show. And then this show will be live. So I'll do that for you on Monday. Be here with you to do that. All right. Have a great weekend, everybody. And I'll see you back here on Monday. Bye.
The After Party Live would like to thank the following contributors and viewers like you.